Huh? Looks like the Arcane guys are trying to make a fighting game. Huh. I can at least check out the trailer. What? Who the hell is Teemo? Whoa! Oh boy! Now I can't wait to sink my teeth into some 2XKO. That Teemo trailer was so based, and I loved Arcane. I guess I can support the devs by buying maybe a skin or two. The game is free after all. Let's check out that page. $20 for a skin? That's a little steep. Well, the game is free after all. Well, I guess we can go ahead and check out that battle pass. $10? Not bad, not too shabby there, right? Not too bad at all. That's a really good price. What? But why is Warwick locked behind the deluxe package? What? I have to pay an extra $25 for Doggy Daddy? But I love Doggy Daddy! What the hell? Well, I guess the game is free, so I can't get too mad. Get it. Alright, let's go check out what I really came here for. The Arcane skins. I really love Arcane. $99 for the deluxe edition of Arcane? Riot, you lost your mind! What were you guys thinking? No way. They actually bought it! Easy money, baby! Works every time. Yeah, hello everybody. What? Too far, too far. Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. A little too far there. Yeah, hello everyone. It's your favorite fighting game mashing, heart stuck gold playing, Cosmic Kangaroo, back with a new video series. And today is the very first episode of the said series where I create fighting game character concepts for Riot's brand new wallet siphon, game, 2XKO. This is where I pitch not only to Riot, but you, yes, you, character concepts, so to bring attention to certain League of Legends characters that I feel would fit within 2XKO. And dear viewer, I know what you're asking yourself right now. I should really like and subscribe to this guy's channel. It looks like he put a lot of work into this. I know what you're asking yourself right now. Drama? What the hell do I get from this? Well, pipe down, little Root, and I'll let you know. You get to learn a little bit about League lore, a little bit about fighting game design, amateur design, a little bit about Riot's past tendencies, and general entertainment from seeing a brand new creator flop around and use his low.
Nothing like saltwater soup. And I got sugar water for dessert. I'm going all out tonight.
Low budget on a video. So without further yapping, let's get into today's character for the very first episode / Halloween special of Riot. What was that? Did you guys hear that? Let's go check it out.
Help me! Open the door! Let me in! Aren't you afraid? It won't die! We can't get out! Don't open your eyes! It's in the house! It's alive! Don't leave me! Please, no! Demon! Monster! The Scarecrow! It's real! Keep running! Save me! No! It's here! Help me! Fear! No! Little light, hide, Sarah, hide. Nightmares will up, I'll see. nobody left but me.
Yeah, hello everybody. Real quick interruption before we continue on to the next bit. I really appreciate you watching the video. I was super duper sick for like a week and a half, so I had to rush this out just a little bit. I might do a redo like next year or something to make it grandiose as I want it to be. But I only have 20 something subscribers, so if you could find it in your heart to give me a subscription and like and follow, and I don't know if hype, it costs money. If it costs money, don't do that. But if you can just give me a like and subscribe, I would really appreciate that, guys. I'm just now recovering and I'm about to take a long rest. Thank you so much. Please enjoy the video. Yeah, hello again, viewer. Welcome in. And this is my little lore shack. This is where I'm going to give a brief little lore dump for Fiddle. I promise I'll speed it up for you. I know everybody's attention spans are cooked these days, including myself. But this is my little way of helping everybody get invested who don't know about Fiddle, and a refresher for those who do. But anyways, sit back, relax, and let me tell you the tale of Fiddlesticks. The ancient fear. Long ago, in a tower by the edge of the sea, a foolish young mage summoned something into the world that he was not prepared to control. What stepped before the boy was something older than recorded history, something darker than a yawning, starless night, something the world had desperately tried to forget. And in an instant, the mage, the creature, and the tower itself were all lost to time. At least, that's what the stories say. In the land of League of Legends, the world is called Runeterra, and just like our world itself, there are very distinct countries and factions and independents that rule throughout the world. They go as followed: Demacia, Ixtal, Piltover, Ionia, Shurima. In every corner of Runeterra, these myths persist, reshaped and respun, and passed down by countless generations of storytellers. Stories of a thing that looked almost human and stalks places thick with fear. But these are simply fables to frighten young children. No one would ever be afraid of a silly old monster called Fiddlesticks. Until now. Something has awoken in the Demacian hinterlands, drawn by the climate of rising fear and paranoia. Rural protectorates, separate from the capital by hundreds of miles of farmland, are emptying in mere days. Travelers vanish from the old footpaths. Guard patrols fail to report back from the edges of the kingdom, and the wild-eyed survivors claw at their faces from the safety of the roadside taverns, wailing of crows that aren't crows, sounds that aren't sounds, and a lopsided horror in the shape of a scarecrow that croaks in the stolen voices of the dead. Most blame rogue mages. Such accusations are common in these days of rebellion. Yet, the truth is far worse. Something has returned, just as it had in the fictitious tales of the young mage in the seaside tower. An evil gone from the world for numberless centuries. Long enough that the warnings of a narcissistic human passed into the rumor, the myth, then legend. Until all that remained were simple fables. An entity so utterly alien that it defiles almost all contemporary knowledge of magic. In the wake of this revival, another tale, nearly lost to memory, has seen a resurgence throughout the hinterlands. An ancient fear has been awoken. A legend of great evil that has no form, no thoughts, and no understanding of the world it inhabits, instead building itself into the crude shape of those that fear it. The terror of all living things given life in that first terrible scream of creation, a demon before demons were known. At least, that's what the stories say. But Fiddlesticks is real. All right, enough yap, and I hope you enjoyed the story time. Let's go ahead and hop right into the lab. See you there. Yeah, hello, my little scientists, and welcome to the lab. Patent pending. Let me change into something a little bit more professional, totally using animation techniques. All right, feeling way more professional now that I'm in my official Riot gear. Anyways, this is where I'm going to go over the ingredients of Fiddle, if you will, and cook up some unique abilities / concept for today's subject. So what are today's ingredients, you may ask? Well, I'm glad that you asked. We're going to look at Fiddle's abilities, and we're going to grab them from one of the only sources I have, actual League of Legends itself. So we're going to go to the official webpage, check out his abilities. Obviously, there's a lot longer ones if you want to be a nerd. About it, but we're just gonna go over the base ones that are just on the website. So let's check it out. All right, so here we are. Let's lock in real quick. Come on, guys, let's lock in. All right, we're gonna go briefly over his abilities. The how should I say, more surface level explanation. Of course, every one of these abilities has an official like 3 million page essay on the actual League of Legends page and description. If you want to read that, you can easily go find that on your own. We're just going to do the surface level stuff. So let's hop right on into it. Harmless Scarecrow passive. Fiddlestick's trinket is placed by Scarecrow effigy. So in the game, he's not able to have traditional wards. He gets a little effigy. These effigies don't do any damage at all. They can be used to confuse the opponent in very niche situations, but most people aren't really going to fall for it, really and truly. Moving on to Terrify, his Q ability. Fiddlesticks damaging enemies with spells while unseen or targeting an enemy with Terrify's activation strikes a target's unit with fear, causing it to flee in terror for a duration. Long story short, he throws the ball. You see that little line here on Garen. If that's empty, you get it. And if it's not, it just does a little bit of damage. Going on to more interesting things, here we have his signature W ability, Bountiful Harvest. This is probably Fiddlestick's most important, if not second most important tool that he has. Fiddlesticks drains health from nearby enemies, dealing bonus execute damage at the end of the duration. Long story short, he sucks health from you, you lose yours, and at the end it does extra damage. Right there, you see that end right here when it procs. Right there, it does extra damage. Moving along, Fiddlestick slashes an area with its scythe, slowing all enemies hit and silencing enemies hit in the center of its slash. This is probably another one of his really good moves. All Fiddle's moves are good. This one's a pretty good signature too. And then we have here, last but certainly not least, his very, very iconic ultimate, simple yet effective, Crow Storm. A murder of crows flock wildly around Fiddle, dealing damage per second to all enemies in the area. Pretty simple, really strong in application of League of Legends. Hell, you can get plat by just playing this guy and learning to time your ult right. Hell. Alright, I feel like I explained all this stuff really good. We're going to go ahead and get into the notes and see what we can get cooking up there. Hello there, my little scientists, and welcome to the lab notes section. This is what we're going to be working with today. This is where I'm going to go over just the abilities for right now. Quick reminder, this is what the buttons look like within 2XKO, and this is what we're going to be using, just the abilities. So bear with me, like I said, we are on a low budget. So work with me here. We're just going to work with what we got. Everybody, let's lock in. All right, I'm going to go with it just as we go. Fear Bomb, simple projectile. Fiddle lobs a glob of fear at his opponent. This is going to be a basic projectile. Nothing super special about it. Except On hit, there is a fear debuff. And I know what you're asking yourself right now, my little scientist. Drama, what does the fear debuff do? Don't worry about that right now, my little scientist. I'll get to that later. But taking notes from somebody, the debuff does not affect you on block. So it will only affect you on hit. That's what this red is for. Let me get in there. On hit. Inspiration for this is going to be on the fiddle cue itself. Fear. It probably has a real name, but everybody just calls it fear because it fears. So let's hop into the actual demonstration. All right, so this is gonna be the little demonstration section. Like I said, working with what we got. So here we have here, and don't worry about there being a tech and health bar at the top. Don't worry about that. It'll be fixed in post. I'll probably even zoom this in a little bit. So here's the projectile in question. Definitely not a Hadouken colored a different color. So all he's gonna do here is gonna throw this in an arching manner. Is gonna hit this guy. If he blocks it, he blocks it. If he gets hit, a little bit of damage and fear. Like I said, that we will get into later. So don't be impatient. Moving back to the notes. All right, so for this one, we have his S1 ability, forward S1. It's where his fiddle's gonna swing his scythe 3 times in the same exact motion, not a rekka. Hey, editing Rue here. I didn't bother to explain what a rekka was because I was being an inconsiderate jerk. I'm making this video for everybody, and some people may not be familiar with the term rekka or what that really means. So I'll give you a second to pause and read up on what it is. And I also figured out that I can't spell too good. Yeah, shocker. But I'm just putting this here just in case. Sorry about that, guys. Let's push on. He cannot change it at all. And the name of this ability is going to be Reap and Sow. I know, the most original name that ever heard in your life, but we keep going on. But let me cook, let me cook, let me cook. All right, so he can hold each swipe to preference. Scales up to 8% extra damage on hold, but he can hold the ability indefinitely, my ruse, indefinitely, as long as he wants to. There's going to be a reason for this, so check your notes, write it down. This will be on the test. But he can also cancel this after his first swipe, and obviously based on his fiddle E, the silent swipe. All right, so here we are at the demonstration for Fiddle's forward S1. All right, just for demonstration purposes only, I got Fiddle a nice royalty-free scythe to use in his stead of his real one, since I can't animate that yet. Like I said, budget's low. Anyway, so the point of this move is a 3-hit, not a rekka, by the way, not a rekka. We're gonna hit, and every time for this move, he will hit mid, low, overhead. He cannot mix it up whatsoever. The point of this move is to keep pressure off and keep the opponent guessing. That's why you can't switch it up. Again, not a rekka. I have to emphasize this. And this is his pretty much his mid-range pseudo poke. Since his projectile is going to be rather slow, this is what he's going to use to kind of keep the opponent out. So the reward for this is not going to be a fear, but if he lands all hits, he will get a hard knockdown. And if you play 2x KO, that is a rather big deal. That doesn't happen too much. That means you can really play into the rest of his moves that I'm going to show after this. So the first two, somewhat underwhelming, but we're just starting. This is the oil in the pan. The next one is going to be sauce. So let's get back onto those notes real quick. Yeah. All right, my little scientist. Now we're really about to start cooking. This is where we get into the meat and potatoes of what I imagine Fiddlesticks to be within the game. So without further ado, let's get started. I know before, his kit kind of seemed basic, kind of, oh, drama, anybody could have thought of this. But here's where it gets interesting. Let's read the notes together. All right. Back S1, Bountiful Harvest. Okay. A name so good, I'm not even going to change the name. Real Fiddle fans already know what I'm about to get into, or have at least a little clue. Let's hop in. All right, it's gonna be his bread and butter. Kinda. All right, it's gonna be a unique, lengthy command grab, but it's gonna be mid-range. Think of something along the lines of Blitzcrank, but we're cooking up a little bit more stuff, and you can play a little bit more mind games. Just stay with me and lock in. All right, on hit, Fiddle grabs you for big damage, and you're gonna get a special animation. Something along the lines of, him, slurping you up.
What the hell are you talking about?
And then chewing you up and then spitting you back out. And it will also give you hard knockdown, by the way, which is important to the rest of his kit. So let's keep pushing on. All right, on block, grab will not be performed, but will pull opponent next to Fiddle. Okay, this is sounding a little bit more like Blitz, but stay with me. Stay with me. If Bountiful Harvest is used while opponent is feared, a special animation will be performed. If Bountiful Harvest is blocked or hit okay, it won't matter. The special animation will play regardless. So this is where the feared status is coming into play. I can finally talk about it. I know a lot of you are like, oh, so that's where it is, drama. Yes. This is where the fear is coming into play. So that you can get your command grab. To make it fair, you just can't do the command grab off rip and have all that pressure there. This is to really earn it. A tether grab like this from far away wouldn't be fair, but if you're feared and you're set up for it, it feels like it's more earned from Fiddle's spot. But let's keep going. That's not all. We're not quite done. And we're just really getting started in the cooking. All right, is air okay? But there's a different animation. So if you're able to read a jump in and they don't block, you'll also get some big damage. Not as much as you would be on the ground, and it's not as fast as it would be on the ground. So if they read that your reap and sow's coming, you can use this as a jump up and grab them out of the sky as a read. Ooh, a little extra note stuff. But this is obviously based on his Fiddle W. And, bread and butter to illustrate. But here's where it gets a little bit more interesting than Blitz. Can hold up to 0.75 seconds if blocked. So this is more of a suction move. This isn't like Blitz where he just reaches his hand out. Whether you block or you get grabbed, you come to him regardless. So this is more that you can choose where you want to put your opponent if they're in the range of the grab to play even more mind games. Because as we discussed earlier, and as you can see from the rest of his tools, Fiddle isn't gonna be that good at what I would like to call range 0. What do I mean by that? Let's go into the lab. Yeah, hello, my little scientists. Welcome back to the lab. Here we have a very crude representation of Fiddle's Bountiful Harvest in the 2xKO example here. To further show this off, I've added a, a little hitbox here. Just imagine that that's a hitbox, and this is Yasuo's hitbox here. So the main idea of doing this is it's going to have a longer windup, as you see with the following the theme of the past abilities, and this all comes into play in a minute here. But the real thing about this having a long windup is I really want him to use this at the end of block strings, whether the opponent has the feared status or not. And the counterplay to this is even after the block string, he's a little plus, but he can't just dash across. He still was a little bit too far away. I mean, he could, but it really wouldn't work out. Your play is to just block. If you're patient and block, you'll be at zone 0. And this doesn't operate like Blitz's. I know I said that before, but this is gonna operate more like Zangief's V-trigger skill from Street Fighter V. I'll have a little bit of visual representation here where you can end Bountiful Harvest, like I said before, wherever you want it to be. Like if you hold it, you'll actually be in a worse position because Fiddle's not gonna be too close up. He's gonna be, his moves aren't gonna be too good. He has good poke, not too good up close moves. So a character like Yasuo or most other traditional characters in this game really have a field day if they got up real close to Fiddle. But even though he would be negative, Fiddle can manipulate it or just notice that it's on block. Or if he wants him kind of right here, I can imagine him having like a medium punch that would be decent here, could maybe trade out with Yasuo. Or Yasuo's counterplay would be to just simply jump over it if he knows it's coming, and just do a little cross up right here. Also, I want, because Yasuo doesn't have enough tools, F it, hit Yasuo's wind wall can block the grab. Why not? It'd be really funny. Not too much more to say about Bountiful Harvest here. You know, it's just a really good cash out tool for him. Nothing too crazy. So let's get on to, and I know it seems a little bit underwhelming so far, but once we get into this next part, his S2 abilities, all of this stuff is going to start making sense. Why I haven't given him anything too crazy except Bountiful Harvest so far. So lock in, we're halfway there. I'm gonna speed this video up a little bit. It's been going on a little long. Let's go. All right, my little ruse, let's go ahead and knock this on along. Some more notes, because this one is a little bit more lengthy. This one is also gonna be for Fiddlesticks' sauce. We're cooking. I promise you, we're cooking. So let's get on into it. You're about to see another archetype here. So Harmless Scarecrow is going to be Fiddlesticks' default S1 ability here. Fiddle summons an effigy on the opposite side of the map. The distance will be decided after more testing. Effigy flees after Fiddle is hit 2 times in a row, or after 15 seconds, whichever is first. I feel like that's a reasonable time. I'm gonna mess with it and play testing. I'll have to have people there, but I feel like 15 seconds in the span of 2x KO flies by and is a reasonable time for Fiddlesticks to get started or get his mind games going, this, that, and the third. But here's some extra sauce. I'm cooking. Delay recast. Fiddle's effigy explodes, sending opponent upwards, spreading fear on hit. So that's number 3 on fear. Not too many ways to get fears, and we're gonna keep on going here, but it has to be on hit. Again, I don't like statuses are applied on block. I feel like that it creates a lot of friction between the defense of player 2. For instance, if Fiddlesticks was player 1, it creates a lot of friction, and I don't really like that. So with my design here, all of his fears only appear on hit. So let's keep on going here. Opponent cannot directly hit the effigy, so that counterplay is out of here. The effigy is going to be more in the foreground than actually on the map itself. I'll be discussing this in more detail once we actually go on the playtest field slash the lab. Effigy will not perform fear on fleet. So again, if Fiddlesticks gets hit twice, I feel like that's reasonable for 2x KO with all the hits going around. Give him a chance for the effigy not to go away from one straight hit from like a Jinx rocket or a Teemo little bomb or whatever. Usually that'll be an indicator of some sort of combo, or, you know, if you got hit twice in the air, oh well, don't jump. But for Bountiful Harvest specifically, instead of a grab, knock up is performed. So it'd be a little bit too strong if the effigy itself gets the goddamn grab too. That'd be a little bit too crazy. I'm somewhat reasonable. And obviously this is going to be based off of Fiddle's passive here. So for this one, I'm really gonna have to show in the lab what I'm talking about, because this guy has a lot going on now. Everything's connecting, baby. Let's go. All right, my ruse, welcome back to the lab real quick. I'm just briefly going to tell you what his S2 does. It's nothing too crazy because the next part is insane. I'm actually even thinking about nerfing it before I even put out the video, dude. But anyways, let's keep going. All his S2 is going to do is he's going to be, again, as fitting his theme so far, low and slow, you know, abilities coming out, but it's all coming together on this next ability. I promise. He's going to set up the effigy, summon it in the background of the map. You can't interact with it, like I mentioned before. Yasuo can't hit the effigy, and the effigy automatically is going to look whichever way that the enemy is going to be, whether Yasuo's in the front or in the back relative, where this is in a 2D space. He's going to be facing him. Fiddle can also do this in the air. I may have failed to wrote that in the notes, but he can jump and do it. It's just going to be very unsafe. Like I said, even in these notes, I'm going to tell you a little bit of the counterplay in a lot of these things. Like, it's my first time, so of course there's going to be mistakes here and there. I accept it. Go ahead and roast me in the comments. It's all good. I'll take any feedback. But you can do this in the air, but it's very long. I mean, if that's where the hard knockdowns come into play that I was mentioning so far behind, so he can can do it safely. But you know, you can't, the minus frames are so low that, you know, you could just get DP'd, or you can start an air combo here with your Yasuo and you're reading that he's going to do it because it's going to be an animation that the effigy is just going to summon in the foreground, and it's not instant either. It's going to take a second for the effigy to do his little movements and twitch and this, that, and the third. So just use your imagination for me real quick, please. I'm trying, I promise, and I'm really trying to get this video out today. All right, next move. Let's get into the crazy, baby. All right, my ruse, I promised you some sauce. Here it is. Forward S2. What am I cooking up? Let's get on into it. Follow my lead. FML. I thought that was a little clever. But all right, what does that do? You can probably guess what this is about to do. Effigy winds up to use Fiddle's last used S1 attack. So it's going to be on a different timing than what Fiddle does. So FML gives Murderfield new property unique to Effigy. So all of his moves are going to give them unique properties. It's not going to apply fear to any ability that applies fear, such as the fear bomb. Not going to give fear, is just going to give the on hit just to add a little bit more pressure for Fiddle, help him out a little bit. Like I said before, this is all leading into each other, so let's keep going and I'll go a little bit into it in the demonstration section. So FML Murderfield now tracks to opponent for 2.5 seconds. Those crows, yeah, now they track. They're not gonna do any on hit damage. It will chip you out though, and will not apply fear. I'll explain that further along the video. Will not apply fear, just for, like I said, none of these abilities. So if it has FML in front of it, so that was a pretty loaded ability, right? Kinda crazy, kinda crazy. Yeah, this is also where Fiddle's gonna get the other half of his sauce. Really and truly, I'm gonna have to demonstrate. So let's hop into that demonstration. All right, so for everything Fiddle does, say he wants to do like a little fear bomb, it's not gonna be this big. Obviously he wants to do a fear bomb. The effigy winds up and he also does a fear bomb. Here's, you know, the royalty free scythe we had earlier. He does the scythe in that order. The effigy is going to do that scythe in the order 1, 2, 3, and then for Fiddle 1, 2, 3. All right, and just like for the grab, now the grab is also going to have a unique ability. I didn't improve that in, but I'm literally doing this video because I feel like it'd be too strong. Just for instance, this is the grab again. The effigy can still do the grab, but instead of actually physically grabbing or doing anything with it, it's just going to have a hitbox popping up, so like a little DP, because I feel like the effigy actually being able to grab you as well, that's just too much. And again, I said that the crow field is now going to track for a couple of seconds. I think that's pretty cool, original thing there. Again, this is all testing, especially this. The other things I'm like somewhat certain I'm able to, you know, maybe a tweak or two. I feel like those are fine. This, I'm kind of on the fence, all of his abilities and such going forward. But for this mostly, yeah, this is the most susceptible to being changed. But yeah, that's what that is. And then after that 15 seconds, say bye-bye, you go away, you know. And like I said, in the grand scope of 2xKO, 15 seconds isn't a long time. So I feel like having that pressure for that long, especially with all the weaknesses and windups I'm giving Fiddle, I feel like that's fair. But I'm gonna tweak some things, you know. I'm gonna give him one little good poke in development, so we'll keep that going. Let's move along. We are almost done, my ruse. We are almost done. All right, my ruse, we only got 2 more abilities left, and this is one of them. So going forward, we're gonna have Gotcha. I need a better name for it, but that's what I got right now. And as you can tell from the name, Fiddle's effigy holds the opponent in place for 1.5 seconds. So the effigy is gonna get a grab, by the way. However, Fiddle's gonna have to make a choice. So this is where it's a little bit of a grab, and as always, it's gonna have a long wind up. It's gonna be in the background, kind of like a fear movie of somebody kind of wanting to grab you from the background. So it's gonna look really cool too in post. I'll give you an example. But anyways, after 1.5 seconds, effigy will explode, giving the opponent the fear status. So this is the only thing, the first and only thing that will apply fear to the opponent. And I'm doing it that way as you'll see here. If the opponent is hit during the duration of the hold, fear will not be applied. So this is going more into depth. So this is the fiddle's choice right here. He can either let the effigy hold you and then blow up, or he can use this as an opportunity to mix you up and get started in a combo, whichever one he sees fit. And like we've been discussing, Fiddle's combo game isn't going to be the best without the effigy. So he's going to be susceptible and leaving himself open and have to start over from the beginning, summoning the effigy over again. So it's really not that strong. This way, again, keeping friction low for player 2 and letting Fiddle have fun at the same time, I feel like is a really good way to go. So let's go in the lab and see what this is really looking like, babe. All right, babe. So here we are back in the lab. It's really simple. If you're walking around here, let's say that the grab, so let's say here, editing Rue probably made this look really cool and really fast. This is the hitbox for the grab range, and Fiddle's giving you some pressure with his reap, and so, you know, on block is a little bit of pressure. He gets you in this range, and he's like, all right, it's my turn for the guessing game here, and I want to go for a grab. Boom. The effigy is going to wind up, give him a grab. It's like, all right, now Fiddle has two choices. Like I said before, he can come in a little bit further. He wants to give you a little mix up. He can, because you can hit him out of this grab, similar to like a Lowy tentacle, like that, give you a little mix up here. Or he could just let it go off. He's like, all right, I've used my effigy long enough here. I want to get you feared, set up for like a bountiful harvest coming up. He'll let you blow up and you get the fear, or you can get the mix up. Pretty nice, right? I think that's pretty cool. Nothing much more to say there. Let's get on to that last and final ability. We are almost done. Let's get it. All right, my Ruse, we have finally made it to the last ability that I have for Fiddlesticks. Thank you so much for sticking with me so long. As you can tell, I kind of had a little cold, so I don't know. Thank you for sticking with me, though. I really appreciate it. We're going to knock this out so I can get a little rest. All right? Thank you. All right. So very last ability. Who's who? What does that mean? Let's get into it. Fiddle becomes intangible and switches sides with his effigy. Okay, what does that mean? Let's continue. After teleporting, effigy gains an active hitbox. So just a little bit of preamble before we get into the demonstration. As I said, the counterplay was jumping around. So this is a way for Fiddle to kind of like turn the tables and be like, all right, so you jumped over me, whatever, I can switch it back, baby. This is my way to switch it back and get a little bit of pressure back. But let's continue before I keep yapping here. Fiddle can cancel and reappear at the same spot that puts opponent in hard knockdown if hit. What does this mean? So this is like I just said, this is giving Fiddle a little bit of counterplay to the counterplay, a little bit of mind games on top of that. So this is the mind games right here, when Fiddle can cancel and reappear at the same spot. So it's like, all right, you jump over me, all right, I'm gonna jump over the jump over and switch back. It mind games, baby. Just a little bit of extra play on top of it, and fix a little bit of holes in Fiddle's gameplay. Like I gave him clear counterplay in this concept, but I can't let it, I got to give him something a little silly, you know. I already gave him the silly ability with the forward S1, with the copycat ability. So let's give him this so he's not brain dead, easy to come around. And also, you know, not to mention tag-in moves, assists, if you will, can also help out Fiddle. So I feel like this really rounds him out in a way. So like, all right, let me give you the teleport, or get out of the way of, you know, brain dead offense that's coming his way. Because this move, I gave him, everything else is pretty slow. This one's pretty fast. This is the one ability that I'm like, all right, let's make this fast so we can get Fiddle out of jail free card, because he's gonna be moving slow. You know, he's a lanky guy, not a traditional dash, a longer dash. The video that he's first appeared on after his rework, of course. Let's keep on going. Last thing, so I can stop yapping here. Effigy will walk slightly forward if hit okay. So this is the only way Fiddle can manipulate exactly on the field his effigy is. We're done with the notes. I think I'm done. We're done with the notes. Let's get into the last demonstration, and finish this bad boy out. I'm sick. I'm so sorry. Let's finish this bad boy out. All right, here we are for the last demonstration. Last and least, this is more like a utility move for Fiddle, so that he can get around. Like everything else I gave him is so slow. You know, you gotta do your reads. Here's his utility where it all kind of brings it together, because from the beginning, you know, his reach is the only like overhead I gave him ability wise so far. So everything else he can, Yasuo right here can kind of like jump over his pressure. He can use his little bomb or whatever to kind of guess that he's going in the air, but nothing too concrete. Anyways, let's keep going. Here's Yasuo, here's Fiddle. All they're gonna do literally is switch sides, and then he's flipped over. Now, if he's too close, if Yasuo is in range 0, like they're up close, and Fiddle's able to like, all right, he's not gonna give any pressure. He's waiting for me to bait a move and whiff so he can give me a big punish, blah, 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 blah. And he switches up. The effigy is gonna come out of the ground specifically, and it's gonna have a hitbox when it comes out of the ground. This is the only time where it's gonna have an active hitbox, is on coming up like that. This is gonna give a hard knockdown into Fiddle, right? So now Fiddle can have a couple of options. This, like I said, his abilities don't make it go away for this specific ability right here. Let me make him come up for his specific ability right here. Now, in this essence, he's not at range 0 anymore. This is right where Fiddle wants to put you at. So now you can put pressure. Hell, you can switch back. And it'll be really funny. You'll be at a disadvantage a little bit, because then you'll be at Yasuo's, you know, zone 0 right here. He can punish you right here. But you could, if you wanted to. You got knocked down. Now Fiddle has time to set up his nonsense tricks, really invoke the fear into you. He can also fake it out. He can fake this out, like in a situation of like, okay, Yasuo knows that I know that he knows that I know type beat here. Fiddle can just be like, he can go into the ground or whatever, or into the crows, whatever I decide to want to do for the animation if this goes further. And then he could be like, I don't want to do that. And that means that this little guy is moving up. Now, Fiddle doesn't like characters being close. And the theory is the effigy does like the beats, because he can hit you with, you know, the reap and sow type beat right here, 1 2 3, like after Fiddle does his, or he can hit you with the grapple, whole bunch of other stuff. The effigy wants you to be closer. Fiddle does not. Fiddle doesn't want to be in your zone 0. Lastly, so that rounds it out. That's it. That's all his abilities. Yeah, hello. All right, so we're all finished up. Thank you so much for watching. I really ran out of time for this video. Even this end isn't going to be edited much at all. So in a nutshell, Fiddle's going to be like a half grappler, half puppeteer character mixed into one. If you have any ideas how to make them better, or if I didn't cook, or if I did cook, put them down in the comments. It really helps me out, and I really appreciate any support you could show. Please like and follow if you are able to. And if you halfway enjoyed this content, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you're interested, please follow my Twitch. I'm going to link it down below. I would love streaming for people who would actually, you know, want to watch. I have some really great friends and other streaming partners that I found that'll watch me, and a couple of fans that'll watch. But if you want to come with my wacky antics, I do more than just fighting games. I do a myriad of other games. I'm just a gamer, man. I be gaming. But without making this video too much longer, thank you so much. Like and subscribe if you can, or if you want to. I worked really hard on this, and I was unfortunately I was really sick during this, so I want to do a lot more and make it a little bit longer, but it just wasn't in the cards, guys. It just wasn't. Even this end isn't going to be edited too much, but I reached my deadline of putting this out by Halloween day. I really wanted it out a couple of days earlier, but I was on my ass in an urgent care like 2 times in the past 2 or 3 weeks. I've really been struggling with this, so I hope you guys can understand and forgive some of the audio issues that this does have. But that's about it. I'll see you guys around somewhere else. Be safe out there in space. See it.